Good evening and welcome to episode 68 of the Jacksonian. I'm yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and I'm here with the host of Locked On Coogs, the one and only himself, Parker Ainsworth, as we'll be going over our take on how life has been for the Houston Cougars in the Big 12. Can they win a national title in college basketball in 2025, 2026? If not now, when? But let me tell you something, folks. You're going to be in for a wild ride. And if you enjoyed episode 4 when we had him on July 6th, 2023, well, you're going to enjoy this next edition, episode 68 of the Jacksonian. How you doing today, good buddy?
I'm good. I'm good. We're talking pre-production, like the transfer portal chaos and wrapping up basketball season. It feels like it all never stops, but busy's a good thing in this business, right? Busy's good.
Yes, it is. I mean, busy's always good. And, for those who don't know enough about you, would you like to tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. I host Locked On Coogs. I've been running the show since the fall of 2022. Kind of in anticipation of Houston joining the Big 12 the next summer. They wanted to get a Locked On show for the U of H off the floor. We've been growing it. It's been growing steady. Basketball season's always good for the University of Houston in terms of viewership and that kind of stuff. But it's been a wild ride of a couple years hosting the show. Been a Houston fan for a long time, so it was nice to get to do that. I also, podcasting is just one of my jobs. I also teach middle school history, and I'm a high school assistant basketball coach. Life is very busy. I got a toddler, got a wife, got a dog, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, stay very busy. Don't sleep a whole lot, but who can sleep when you're doing stuff like college basketball and college football? Like, why would you sleep when you go talk about those kind of things, right?
There you go, man. And for those who don't know what that sign is, what is this exactly?
The Cougar Paw. So the story goes, once upon a time, back when Houston was the Southwest Conference and they were playing UT Austin in the Southwest Conference. Back when that was actually a really competitive rivalry, and Houston would beat Texas and Texas beat Houston. They went back and forth, and driving down to Austin from Houston, it's like 2.5, 3 hours. And the live Cougar mascot was in the back of the trailer being dragged behind the bus or whatever. And I guess it got a paw caught in the chain link or whatever and lost a toe. And I think some UT Austin fans might have had a few beverages and were trying to make fun of that toeless Cougar. To which I think the final score was 30-0 after that particular day. Houston won, and Houston's kind of adopted that paw sign ever since for the Shasta missing a toe there. And so it just kind of sticks. I don't know. Obviously, you cover all of college football, Jackson. I feel like every Texas school, Houston, Baylor, TCU, Texas, and like everyone in Texas has a hand sign. I feel like so that's ours. That's ours.
There you go. I'm always thinking about it being Coogs' house, like how you start the intro, Locked On Coogs.
Yeah, that's so. I mean, that's the whose house, Coogs' house is the chant, and so that's what we open with each time. Yeah, the hand sign just that's the equivalent of Roll Tide, Hook 'em Horns, what's OH and Ohio State, that all that kind of stuff. I don't know what does Michigan say? I don't know, but everyone's got something. It feels
Go
like, right?
blue. That's
yeah, go blue. There you go.
Oh yeah, because like I should know because I'm like watching Locked On Wolverines and Michigan at the Voice College Football. So it's like if I don't know that, I'd be like, what are you doing, Jackson?
Well, but everyone's got something. I don't know who you consider yourself the biggest fan of necessarily, but everyone's got something like that. Woo Pig Suey in Arkansas, all that kind of stuff, right? So
There you go. So Houston basketball, they finally made it to the Final Four. Back at it. They won against Duke, but a blown lead against Florida. It's not the first time that's happened. They came up short against Georgetown in the 80s and the Natty. Came up short against North Carolina State, unfortunately. What's going on with What's it going to take for Houston basketball to win that elusive national championship in 2025-2026?
Well, in that year specifically, and so that'd be April of 26. Um, it'll be so like let's go like crystal ball. Houston's winning the title in 2026 or whatever. They've got three impact freshmen that are all going to come in and um, make a pretty big noise. They are returning a handful of guys. Emmanuel Sharp, JoJo Tugler was Conference Defensive Player of the Year. Emmanuel Sharp, for his flaws at the end of the title game, was a player of the region in their Sweet 16 Elite Eight region. He was player of the tournament, the Big 12 tournament. Like he's had much better outings, obviously. Miles Uzan's name, as we record this, is presently in the transfer and is in the NBA draft. But he has until May 28th to pull his name out. And I think a lot of people are kind of assuming he will. He just wants to get the feedback, what to do with his game. If he's back, he's a pretty impactful guy, obviously. And then on top of that, I mentioned three freshmen. Chris Sinak is projected to be a one and done. He'll probably start. He's a 7-footer that plays out on the perimeter. Has some good, he's a true power forward type guy. They're bringing in Kingston Fleming, was a Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Texas. He's a 6'4"-ish point guard with like crazy vertical. Isaiah Harwell is a 6'5", 6'6" perimeter guy. He plays the 2 guard at Wasatch Academy, one of those big like basketball academies out in Utah. He was Gatorade Player of the Year in Utah for what it's worth. So Houston brings in between those 3 guys, they got 2 McDonald's All-Americans, 2 Jordan Brand All-Americans, 2 Gatorade Players of the Year for their respective states. They're really, really impressive 3 guys. Bryce Jackson's the 4th guy in that class. It's kind of a little bit underrated. He's a 3-star guy out of Houston that frankly missed some time his sophomore, junior year hurt of high school. And all that is to say that if those guys are ready to play at the level Sampson needs them to, that team gets really deep really fast. And so Houston's always going to play defense, always going to play that ugly 65, less than 70 points kinds of games. But suddenly the last couple of years, they've had some guys that can score. Jamal Shed, LJ Cryer, now these freshmen. And so that I think if you're looking at like they're cutting down nets in April of 2026, I think those would all be big factors in that for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens this next season. It was a shame that they lost to Florida, to be honest, because I mean, it was like I actually wanted to see that. I actually wanted to see if the Cougars could win it all. Like that would be cool. But you can't cry over what could have happened. You got to focus on that season. Now I got a good feeling Kelvin Sampson's doing a good job of it.
Yeah, he's returning. I don't know how, he is 69 going on 70. His son Kellen is the associate head coach that has been named the like in paper and writing the coach in waiting. Kellen is like the lead recruiter. He frankly went out and got a bunch of these guys coming in next year. He's going to do a great job when it's his, but I think Kellen wants to kind of go out give it a couple more runs at this title before he hangs it up. Jackson, I think I'm older than you are, so I may remember like he was a pretty successful coach at Oklahoma and had really kind of turned things around at Indiana before some recruiting stuff that I don't even think we would consider illegal today.
They made him seem like a mad dog with rabies. When
and I don't mean to say he didn't make a bunch of phone calls, but because it was a lot. But he like made too many phone calls to recruits and stuff, and stuff like that. Just doesn't seem like it's it doesn't seem real anymore. But he has forced to resign at Indiana. People forget he had just got Eric Gordon as a freshman. They were 17-1 at the time that season. He gets the axe. He gets his career kind of revitalized by Greg Popovich in San Antonio, ends up on staff with the Houston Rockets after bouncing around a little bit. And there's no one that benefited more from that than the University of Houston because it was just right there in town. I really don't know what he would have done had he been at Milwaukee or San Antonio or some other franchise that doesn't have a college team like Houston right there. Really, I mean, fortuitous set of events to kind of bring him full circle I've been likening it to the Phoenix rising from the ashes kind of thing where he grew this Houston program from the dumpster And I mean that with all respect, the guys that are playing in it. Daniel House ended up being an NBA guy out of those teams once upon a time, but this program was down when he got here. He was having to beg students to come to games, and now they're selling out the Alamo Dome, right? Like it's a whole different deal.
I bet you got a few notes on a few of the people that talked a lot of smack about Kelvin Sampson in February of 2008. Like, I bet you there's a few of those people that are like, "Oh, I've always loved Kelvin Sampson." Yeah, no, you didn't.
Well, and I don't. This isn't a show we're going to talk about Indiana. I'm sure you've had people from Indiana on to do a pretty good job of hitting everybody, but Indiana still really hates him. They feel like they were like wronged by him
Oh,
or
my
whatever.
buddy Jeffrey loves India. He cannot stand Kelvin Sampson.
Yeah, they asked him to resign. I don't know what they're so upset about, but they really don't like him up there.
No, like Indiana is not too crazy about Sampson. Like me, I was just kind of like, as long as Duke's not winning it all, because I mean, Bama's not gonna win it all, but just don't let Duke win it all. That's what matters.
Preventing Duke from winning is always what matters. That's the key.
I mean, good grief. I mean, we know North Carolina's not getting any. It's like
they need to make a lot of changes there. Yeah. They've had an illustrious history, but man, rough spot right now.
There you go, man. There you go. I mean, because I'm curious to see Kelvin Sampson, see what he can do. I mean, he's definitely learned a lot of tricks from his daddy, about how he's done at Oklahoma, Washington State, and Indiana, and what he's done at Houston. Because it's like I feel like a lot of these schools that were passing up on Bruce Pearl and Kelvin Sampson, they feel really dumb right now. They feel really dumb.
Yeah. The funny thing is that, for several years there, while this program was being built, like they got to the Final Four in 2021, they made an Elite Eight in 2022, and it felt like every year there was like, is UT Austin going to go get Kelvin Sampson? Is LSU going to go get one of these other regional kind of schools? Right. And the answer was no. Like family business. It's Kelvin, his son Kellen, his daughter Lauren is like the marketing PR person. There's a lot of the external communications. His wife is involved in some of the internal branding stuff. I mean, his grandkids come to practices and games. And this is a very family oriented affair that, frankly, I think is part of why it's such a joy to cover. It's like a very feels old school in that way, a family business at a big time college basketball program.
Yeah, I mean he's been doing a fantastic job, and there's going to be more magic, I'm sure, for years to come. But I know Willie Fritz is hoping to create some of that same magic, and I'll be honest, I think he can. And, he can do things that Dana Holgerson couldn't do. Oh, correction. I said this episode was filmed. The episode 4 with Parker was filmed on July 6th. No, that was Jacob Hatch, episode 6. I mean, not episode 6, episode 3, July 6th. Episode 4 with Parker Ainsworth was filmed on July 8th. So I got to correct myself.
All the Cougars, all the Big 12 Cougars getting confused.
No, I got confused on my dates for a moment, but
Jake's a great guy.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
man, he and JT, I mean, they do amazing work on Locked On Cougars and Locked On Utes.
State of Utah, man, it's a weird place.
Yeah. Oh, there you go, man. But yeah, like Willie Fritz is hoping to create some of that magic that Houston's had in years past, hoping to do what Kelvin Sampson did. And I remember when we filmed on July 8th that I felt like 2023 was a hot seat year for Dana Holgerson. Because if they have a losing season, he's fired. What happens? Losing season, he's fired. Then Houston goes and gets Willie Fritz. And the pro of this is, I don't think you're going to see Fritz leaving Houston for anybody. That's not going to happen. I mean, bro was a magician for Tulane football. And I think he can create some of that same magic for Houston for 2025 and beyond. But what do you think, Park?
Yeah, I mean, he's won everywhere he's been. Some places took longer than others, right? He was they went to multiple title games in their division when he was at Sam Houston State once upon a time before they were a D1 FBS school. He's one of the junior college ranks. He's one of the Division two ranks. Um, and he gets to Houston. Or he gets to Tulane, I guess, before Houston, and it's obviously a little bit steeper of a rebuild for folks that don't know the region or Tulane. Tulane doesn't have a whole lot of flexibility on academic standards, which can kind of, mean you got to find the right kind of guys there and that kind of stuff, which is not a bad thing inherently, but does make building a program take a little bit longer, I think. And he goes and gets the Tajay Spearses of the world and builds that program up, and then hops over to Houston after that for a shot at doing it in the Power Four. And he said from the moment he got here that was a big part of this, was getting to do it at a Power Four program. And honestly, like I've likened it to, like, if you're a bus driver, you got to get the people that don't want to be on the bus off the bus. You get the right people on the bus, and you got to get them in the right seats. And he's somewhere between steps 1 and 2 there, still, about building a roster that fits his culture, his ideas. Because Dana left a lot of talent, but some guys transferred out because they were more of Dana Holgerson's guys, and you got to replace them. And the transfer portal makes all that really hazy. But I think all the things are moving in the right direction. It might be slower than people want. They went 4-8 his first year in Third Ward, but I think that on the whole things are moving in the right direction, even if it is slower than people want at first. And I'm sure at some point we'll talk about Connor Wegman, the quarterback, but I think there's a chance they're going to surprise a handful of teams this year in the fall.
Well, we're looking at the 2024 season, and of course, Houston's 8 losses, like 7 of them were by double digits or more. The only one that was close was Oklahoma, but that was a sign of things to come. Something tells me that we're going to see a really good season for 2025. But the weird thing I've noticed is I don't see, well, okay, I do see TCU Baylor, but well, Houston Rice is on week 2. I just want to see Houston SMU, but Friday night, week 3, the Big 12 conference opener against Colorado. Now, I mean, Friday night looks boring, right? Some people down south in the southeast, some people on the West Coast are going to be like, that's boring. When a game looks boring, that means one thing: upsets are coming. When a night looks boring, upsets are coming. Did anybody not learn from Labor Day of 2024? Oh, it looked boring. Well, upsets coming. Don't ever say a week is boring in all of college football, because when you do, upsets happen. I feel like this is where we're going to see Houston make some opportunities for 2025. Is this conference opener against Colorado? And the non-conference slate looks pretty good for them. Like, I mean, it's cream puff, but Oregon State looks tougher than Rice and Stephen F. Austin. But here's my suggestion: don't put Houston Rice on NFL Network, because anytime Houston's been on NFL Network, it's been like the CW for them, as you well know, Parker.
Yeah, I don't know how we managed to get on an NFL Network a couple years in a row there, but I really do look at the schedule as being favorable for Houston in a lot of ways. Like you mentioned, their non-conference is the first year, for folks that hadn't followed them very closely, the Houston plays an FCS school. They've typically, so in the last couple of years in the American, they were playing 2 Power 4 schools to try and get the program theoretically ready for whatever reason. And then in their first couple of years in the Big 12, they still had contractual obligations, and so couldn't get an FCS school there scheduled. And so they finally have some, like, kind of games that, college football didn't have preseason games, right? And so you're trying to get ready for the season with some of those games. And they got a couple of those. Their Power 4 game, because in the Big 12 you do have to play one Power 4 non-conference game, is Oregon State. This is no shots at them. I think that's a lot different than playing an SEC Oklahoma, even if it was an SEC Oklahoma down year, especially having to go to Norman to do it last year, right? And I think that those things work out. There are some things that are a drag. You mentioned the Friday night. Houston has 3 different Friday night games. That's a fourth of their season being played on Fridays, which feels a little odd. But there's pros and cons to that we've outlined a little bit in Locked On Cougs. But on the whole, I would just say that it's a chance to do something special. You got some games you can win there. You can get back into bowl season if you get to 6 of them, and I think they've got a pretty good shot between that non-conference schedule and some favorable matchups in conference as well.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, and Texas Tech, I wonder about them because honestly, they're always hyped up as that team that's going to win the Big 12. I don't know why they've been doing good enough to have 8-win seasons. At some point, those folks down in Lubbock are going to get tired of that from Joey McGuire. And I talked about with my good buddy Joey Foster. He's like, Joey McGuire's going to get Texas Tech rolling. It's like, yeah, but I feel like they're just going to screw up. They're going to screw up somehow because they're living off the Mike Leach era. And at some point, younger generations are not even going to know who Mike Leach is. What's Texas going to Tech have then? What's going to happen then? It feels like they're more of a basketball program than they're a football program now. But we'll definitely wait and see on October 4th.
Yeah, I'm a big Mike Leach guy. Rest in peace. He was. I thought, for all the flaws, the innovation and creativity was just unparalleled. He just saw the game in a very different way. Even he was kind of blunt and a jerk to media sometimes.
All right.
I think Tech has the deal with Tech is, in this modern transfer portal NIL world, I think people are starting to realize how much of West Texas oil money, New Mexico casino money, there's a lot of money that can be spent on that program in that region. And so I think you're starting to see a lot of a lot of high dollar guys end up at Tech. Now, you mentioned they've had trouble putting together and kind of getting over that hump. I don't know that they do necessarily, but they are going to be really talented for the foreseeable future because of that. And I say that mostly as a Houston guy because, we're looking at a lot of the same guys, right? We're both recruiting the state of Texas, both big public institutions in the state of Texas in the Big 12. Baylor and TCU are both a little bit different kind of vibes, right? And so different ends of the state and folks that are not from Texas, that's a solid, 12-hour drive from one to the other. But it really is a competitor that you're seeing do some pretty impressive things. It doesn't always feel great, but they are impressive competitors, to say the least.
Well, I keep thinking about one of the past games in the history of Houston, Texas Tech was 2009. That was on September 26th. That was on ESPN2. And I remember Mike Patrick was calling that game. Rest in peace to Mike Patrick, by the way. But that was a classic from Case Keenum and friends at the Cougars.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole different era of everything, right? It's one of those games that probably gets Keenum into pros just because it kind of put him on the map. But I think he had 400, maybe was it 450? He broke 400 yards that game, and that was back in the crazy every game feels like they're going 500 yards in the air and a couple touchdowns, kind of Houston Cougar systems. And Texas Tech threw the ball a lot back then too, but I don't actually think that game was, if I'm remembering right. Now 2009 is a long time ago for me, man, but that was, I want to say they were in the 20s. I don't think either team got over 40 or anything like that.
I think it was a 29-28 victory over Texas Tech.
Well, and Houston scores the end to win, so I knew it was obviously the one-score game. But and that's a pretty big deal for Houston at the time. Conference USA, Houston. But both programs are just have had highs and lows since then. I mean, Houston's been to a Peach Bowl. Houston's gone 4-8 twice. Texas Tech has kind of been at the top end of the Big 12, and like I said, can't get over that hump. They've changed coaches a few times. So that feels like a long time ago, but that was really kind of anyway. If you look at the last couple matchups, it's been a little bit different. Houston's been kind of battling uphill the last couple of times as far as size goes. And I think they finally kind of figured some of that stuff out up front. That Taj Brooks character, he kind of ran over us a couple years ago. So hopefully get that kind of stuff fixed as far as trench work goes by this October. But I think Houston's in a better place.
They should be. I mean, they should be. I mean, I feel like Houston should go at least 6-6, 7-5, maybe more than that. But then again, I don't want to say Houston's like Arizona State, but Arizona State, let's look at their win totals. Let's go to them for a moment. Get out of here, Ad. We got business. We got business. The first year of the Kenny Dillingham era, 2023, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the 9 losses they had were by double digits. But then what happens? They surprised everybody by going worst to first, by winning the Big 12, keeping it close with the Texas Longhorns in the playoffs. Not saying Houston will do that, but there are some similarities.
Fun fact about that is the guy that caught the big touchdown for Texas, Matt Golden, was a Houston Cougar for 2 years. No, I don't know that Houston goes worst to first. First of all, they weren't quite worst last year either, so we probably should stress that. But
that's true.
I don't know if they go worst to first. I do think, though, you look at SFA, Rice, Oregon State, all those winnable games. Colorado, you don't know what you're going to look. I mean, without Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, I don't know what they're going to look like. And so we'll know more about that when we get there. But you also get, you beat West Virginia a couple years ago. UCF, you're supposed to be in the same playing field as. You beat Baylor a couple years ago. You're thinking these are games that you can be competitive in, right? And you beat TCU last year, I guess, right? That was Fritz's first Big 12 win, if I'm not mistaken. And so suddenly you're rattling off a bunch of winnable games. You don't have to play some of those really top tier teams in this conference either. You do have to play Arizona State. You got to go out to Arizona to do that. But I think it's a favorable schedule as far as making a bowl goes. And I think, frankly, for the program, making a bowl in 2025 is a big deal. For folks that you get like an extra month of practice, you get an extra month of working on together. And if you're trying to instill a culture that actually I think kind of matters. And so, Willie Fritz's second year as a Houston Cougar head coach, his first freshman class, he's recruited in from start to finish, hit the transfer portal hard, brought in a starting quarterback in Connor Wegman. They're really, I think, looking to make some noise here. Not everyone can be Arizona State go worst to first, but it's a schedule I think shapes up pretty well for the Cougs right now.
Well, I mean, like one of the reasons why I put like Houston in that category of possibly doing that for the Big 12, because number one, the Big 12 is unpredictable. You really don't know who's going to get in the Big 12 title. I mean, nobody really thought it was going to be Arizona State, Iowa State. Everybody thought, oh, it's going to be Oklahoma State, Utah. What happens? Oklahoma State, Utah disappoint everybody. Next thing we know, we Willie Fritz has done this before. 2021, 2-10. Part of the reason, well, I mean, Tulane was going through some bad weather, like that whole hurricane stuff. That all the bad weather, like that affected them and their families. I mean, that took a toll on its effect for them. But 2022 went from worst to first, winning the AAC. Then they win the Cotton Bowl, make that comeback against USC. I mean, I would not be surprised if Willie Fritz does this again. Like he's done it before.
Fritz will always beat a team he's not supposed to, and I think that's the thing when you look at 2025s. I don't know which of those teams that Vegas is going to favor over Houston it will be. Last year it would have been TCU, or it might have been Kansas State. But Houston's going to beat a team with Willie Fritz that they're not supposed to, right? They don't have to play Kansas State this year. They don't have to play Utah. I think Utah is going to bounce back in a big way this year. They don't have to play BYU this year, and BYU's throwing money around like no one's business. They'll be okay, right? They've got some favorable matchups here, and again, Fritz always beats every year. He beats someone they're not supposed to beat, and so. I don't know which team that is on this schedule, but there will be one of those wins as well.
Because if I'm seeing Houston is at 6.5, but I'll have to take a look at the Vegas odds again. But when I do, I'm taking the over on Houston. I mean, because of what you just stated.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not sitting here and like doing the guaranteeing a conference title or whatever or anything like that. I look at a team that's getting better and a schedule that's getting more favorable. Last year's schedule, based on previous season win-loss percentage, was like the 5th toughest in the country. It didn't quite shape out like that. Utah wasn't as good as people thought they were going to be, and all of that. But it was a tough road for the Cougs last year. And I know people have different opinions on Connor Wegman, the starting quarterback transfer from A&M, but he was a 5-star prospect out of high school. He was a top 5 player in his class out of high school. He's had some injury bad luck. He's from Houston. He wants to represent the city well. That was a big part of him coming to the U of H and transfer portal. And I have to imagine that, if you can keep him upright, he'll give you a chance at some of these as well. I understand that people may be skittish on Houston after a couple of down years. That 2021 season, Houston was, 11 wins or whatever. People look back, that's like a long
the
time
American
ago.
Athletic Conference title.
Yeah. Well, and they played the Cincinnati team that ultimately went to the college football playoff in that in the American Athletic Conference title game. But that feels like a long time ago to a lot of people. But if you can just keep the top couple Houston area kids in Houston every year, you're going to have a really good team pretty fast.
I mean, 2021 went by so fast.
Yeah, those kids are gone now. Long gone.
True. But I mean, like, the best part about being down is the way to go is up. That's always the best part about being down.
There you go.
But, Central Florida, I'm going to wait and see on Scott Frost. Although I feel like West Virginia is in a better spot. Because, I mean, Central Florida doesn't have Pat McAfee giving him his own money. West Virginia does. That's one of the reasons right there. He's like, oh, I'm going to pledge my money to the NIL fund. Central Florida, I mean, they got Disney money. I mean, I'm sure they can get it one way or another. But they're not in the Malzahn era anymore. So it's like there's no problems there. Scott Frost is back. But TCU, I think their shine from 2022 is worn off because now Sonny Dykes has to coach with his own recruits. I hope he does well with TCU, but I'm feeling like he screams hot seat coach to me.
Well, that does, as someone who follows the whole country, he's got to be on the hot seat, I imagine, right? I mean, there's no other way around it.
Yeah, because it's like he did just enough with SMU. And yeah, he had a 10-win season with Louisiana Tech his last year. But look at where the WAC was. It was a trash heap. No more Boise State, no more Hawaii, no more Fresno State and Nevada. It was just Louisiana Tech, Utah State, San Jose State, and a few rinky-dinks in the WAC. It was just nothing. And then like Cal, I mean, they're kind of like everybody's like, Cal's regretting firing something. Well, let's be real. Cal doesn't care about football, obviously. And College Game Day going there doesn't change.
I don't know how is Cal going to have a roster? I feel like it's every 30 minutes she's something from the team.
Are they even going to have an offense? That's the question.
Yeah.
It's like, good God, like your running backs are all gone. Oh man, that's just nuts. Like it's insane what's happened to that team.
Yeah. It feels like, it's really more of, I guess, showing my age again, but they had like the Aaron Rodgerses of the world, Marshawn Lynch. Like they haven't always been a terrible program, but they are now.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I remember the days of Javid Best. Like, oh my God,
right?
It's like, oh man, like it was so fun watching Cal. But it's like they're now that team that nobody really wanted except the ACC. Big Ten's not getting them. Sorry.
Right. Well, and like I felt kind of bad for Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, Washington State when that whole thing went down, because I don't think any of them necessarily wanted to do the whole realignment deal. But once 4 went to the Big Ten and 4 went to the Big 12, they kind of had to do something. And at least Cal and Stanford, I guess, got somewhere. But I never got the impression those 4 schools wanted to leave the Pac-12.
Obviously not. I mean, because like we know Oregon State, Washington State didn't, but I think Cal and Stanford jumped the gun way too soon.
Well, yeah, there's just the 4 of them left at that point, right? So they were trying to figure something out. But yeah, same way with there's a lot of talent in Houston. There's a lot of talent in Northern California that neither Cal or Stanford seem to be able to take advantage of. They're getting pilfered by Oregon and USC.
True. I mean, yeah, Cal, Clemson, ACC after dark. Who'd have thought that?
There's a few of those games in the Big 12 now too that just kind of drive me a little bonkers. Like having to stay up till 1 a.m. Central Time to watch Houston finish at Arizona and stuff like that. Like, just doesn't make any sense, man.
I know, right? It's like it's what you gotta do, It's like I'll make sure to do. I mean, hey, playoff committee should get us to do it because I mean it's clear they've got a few committee members that don't stay up till 2 a.m. watching the games.
Yeah, I also feel like all the conference alignment stuff is crazy, but then you also factor in that they're talking about different ways to kind of favor the big 2 conferences and who gets in the playoff in the first place and all that. And
that whole thing where if you have great ratings, you're in the playoffs. That's nuts.
Well, and I think that was mostly just kind of you ask for $1 so you can get a nickel, but I think they really kind of were pushing that as something because they're still like, well, we could just guarantee 4 spots go to the Big Ten and 4 spots go to the SEC, or we could do this or we could do that. And the SEC tends to have good top end teams every year. I don't mean this in a way that just would disagree with any of that, but the middle and bottom of the SEC are not always this superb product that I think that they kind of get touted as. There's the middle and bottom of the SEC can be just as good as the middle and bottom of anywhere else. And I think we saw with the way Arizona State pushed Texas last year that like the top of the Big 12, when you play a 1-game sample, can do something crazy. It's any weekend, right? That's the beauty of football is anything can happen any weekend. So I don't know what they're going to do about all that. I think, it's a whole separate show. We're talking through all the big picture things about college football that seem to be changing every day, but it's a crazy time to be a fan of this sport for sure.
Oh, agreed. I mean, it's something you'll tell your grandchildren about for sure.
Well, or like you'll tell them about how once upon a time they just had a BCS computer pick the top 2 teams and that was how they did it. Like just doesn't make any sense anymore. But
at once upon a time, Penn State Pittsburgh was all rivalry week.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man. So I can't help but notice, but is that like 90s or 80s Nikes behind you? Like I see like this massive shoe game you got. Like let's see.
Yeah, I'm a sneaker guy. I got a lot behind me. I don't know which pair you're speaking of specific. The one right above me is the Etonic made a Akeem Olajuwon shoe once upon a time. I think that was
the blue and white Nikes that are on your right.
They're all purchased in the last, decade or so. So I guess they were all purchased in the 2000s. But yeah, I've got a lot of shoes behind me. Frankly, I think I'm in the next couple weeks going to kind of, now there's a little bit of downtime with less games happening, maybe rearrange some stuff behind me because it's getting kind of cluttered. Maybe put some stuff in frames instead of just having to sit there. But I'm a knickknacks kind of guy. So as you gather things, you just end up stacking it behind you wherever you are, which is maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but I can't seem to shake that like hoarder kind of mentality about some of it.
Oh man. I know that Houston Cougar guy that I see, he's looking pretty happy. Like he's like, yay.
That's like a big squishy pillow, yeah. Yeah, I got that like 5 or 6 years ago, but it's this big squishy pillow. The mini helmet, I think you got a bunch of mini helmets behind you as well.
Yes, I do. And don't worry, I didn't leave out the ACC Big 12 mini helmet.
They're over there somewhere.
I gotta add the SMU one, so it's like I gotta get that.
No, you don't. You're okay. You're okay.
Well, it's not fully done because that is the 2025 ACC, and it's not complete until I got one more team in there. Although I'll probably have to get a few more mini helmets once there's more realignment.
Right. We gotta have to add Boise and San Diego State at some point or whatever. Right.
Oh, I gotta add another mini helmet case well to this office. Well, and that about wraps up for episode 68 of the Jacksonian. And Parker, what magic are you cooking up on Locked On Coogs, good buddy?
Yeah, Locked on Coogs, for folks that don't know or follow, was a 5 days a week podcast. In season, we actually may end up doing a lot more than that, but it is the transfer portal with football, and so we're tracking who's in it, who's out of the roster, and Houston's got some additions they need to make, and so we'll see who they end up pulling in with that kind of stuff. Football schedule stuff's happening. They just moved a couple games to Fridays, and so we need to break that down. Basketball season wrap up. I think the roster's pretty well set, but this Milos Uzan, declaration for the NBA draft is still kind of looming. All kinds of stuff. Houston Cougar football and basketball. Hoping for a baseball or softball run to have some other stuff talked about as well. Don't mind talking about bat and ball sports, but feels like when those aren't clicking, it's hard to get people excited about those kind of things. Women's basketball made a big coaching hire. So as they fill up that roster, we're covering that as closely as we can as well, but it's not quite as splashy either. So each day, Locked on Cougs, wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube, audio platforms. Every day.
There you go. Check out the magic that Parker Ainsworth is creating on Locked On Cougs right here on YouTube, where he has passed 3,000 subs. He is gunning for 4,000 subs, 5,000 subs, 6,000 subs. Let's help him get there. Let's help him get close to his goals.
Yeah, some of these SEC shows are like crazy, like Oprah up 12, 15, 20. I'm like, man, I felt pretty good about 3.
There you go, man. Well, you're putting in the hard work. I mean, you are a go-to for the Houston Cougars for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a growing fan base out there. So we're still we don't quite have the coverage of some of the places, but we're growing. And basketball season, I think, shows that when you win some games, people show up. So that's the fun part.
There you go, man. Check him out on Locked On Codes on YouTube. And if you want to listen to Locked On Codes, check it out on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify and Amazon Podcast as well. And give Parker a follow on X/Twitter and on Painsworth 512 and on Instagram at Painsworth Sports and on Threads on Painsworth 512 and on Blue Sky, where the skies are blue, on Painsworth 512 Blue Sky. And you can check me out on what I have to say on Jackson Johnson 979, where I not only do numerous collaborations with Sports Talk with Austin on Past Mike Monday and Tuesday nights, but also I do the Buzzer Beater with Will and D. But of course, I have numerous episodes of the Jacksonian right here on Jackson Johnson 979. And Monday nights, I host Crimson Tide Live on Alabama Voice College Football with Coach Johnny Burtz and Jeffrey from Only Talk Sports, where we go over the latest news and notes on the Alabama Crimson Tide on Monday nights, 6 p.m. Central Time. And Thursday nights, Jeffrey and I take your calls on the Alabama Crimson Tide, 9 p.m. Central Time. And, of course, for more, you can check out the 34th edition of the Crimson Tide Live show, where Johnny, Jeffrey, and I go over our take as to whether our first round streak continues. But remember, this is pre-recorded, so you'll know by this time tonight whether we have the first round streak continuing. And there's the 29th call-in show where you can see some magic all over the place. And for more magic on what's going on Alabama The Voice College Football and on the Jacksonian, check me out on Jackson VOCFB on X/Twitter and on Jackson Johnson 543908 on Instagram and Threads, where I not only give my updates on who's coming on which show on Crimson Tide Live show or on Jacksonian, but my weekly calls on the Paul Feinbaum show. And check me out on Blue Sky at Jackson Johnson 97. And with that being said, Like, comment, subscribe, click on the notification bell so you never miss no video or episode whatsoever. And we will see you soon. Have a good night, everybody.